Welcome to Productive Passions. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Jeannie Retief, the brilliant mind behind Figgy Beauty. Jeannie's story is one of resilience, transformation, and innovation, blending her diverse experiences from international law to skincare into a brand that not only promotes self-care, but also uplifts and empowers others. Jeannie's openness about living with panic disorder is both courageous and inspiring, but it's only part of her incredible story. At her core, Jeannie describes herself as someone deeply curious and committed to making a difference. Her journey began with a childhood dream and evolved through her impressive career in international law before taking a surprising turn into the beauty industry. Today, she is redefining skincare with Figgy Beauty, a brand rooted in the healing power of South African rooibos and a philosophy of holistic well-being. In this episode, Jeannie takes us on a journey from her 10-year-old aspirations to becoming founder, innovator, and advocate. She shares how she discovered the remarkable benefits of rooibos, the lesson she learned from her go-to mantra, "There are no secrets to happiness, life always happens," and the pivotal moment that shaped her path. Jeannie opens up about the people who have influenced her life, the challenges she faced when others doubted her dreams, and the actionable steps she took to create Figgy Beauty. Whether you're navigating your own journey of self-discovery, seeking inspiration to follow your passion, or curious about entrepreneurship, this episode offers a wealth of wisdom and encouragement. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired by Jeannie's incredible story. Dr. Jean Retief, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you saying yes to being a guest on the Productive Passions podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. And you are my first podcast of 2025.
Oh, it is an honor. I appreciate that. You are the brilliant mind behind Figgy Beauty. You've been very open about your personal experience with panic disorder and anxiety. That's not who you are. How would you describe yourself?
I would describe myself as an anxious overachiever with curiosity about all things leading to peace. I think I have found in my journey that there are so many pathways towards getting to a sense of peace, and there are so many different forms of peace. There's inner peace, there's community peace, there's peace within your family, there's loving peace, and they all need to be interconnected and intertwined. But I cannot begin that journey or even entertain that conversation if I do not acknowledge how I am wired. And it helps me to introduce myself like that, because for me, it takes the stigma out of it. It's like, hey, I'm a normal person just like anybody else. I'm just wired a little bit differently. Here's all the things that make you curious about me. And now we can move to the next step.
So how did living with anxiety bring you to creating Figgy Beauty?
So I think the main thing that many people don't know about anxiety is, first, you've got to separate whether you have a problem with stress or chronic stress, or whether you have an anxiety disorder that was diagnosed by a mental health care professional, because those are two completely different things.
Is that like external versus internal?
No, it's more of a change in how your body and your brain and your internal chemistry perceives everyday stress and threats. So stress is a good thing. We all need stress in our lives because that's what helps us perform. It's what sends off the warning signals. It's what keeps us on our toes. But when you have an anxiety disorder, you never come down from that high. You're always kind of buzzing. You're always that anxious. You're always that sensitively wired. So your body starts getting confused and then starts sending mixed signals. Your brain starts sending mixed signals to your body, and you're perceiving things that aren't really a threat for your life to be a threat for your life. And you're constantly living in this state of heightened arousal. And when this happens, it affects literally everything in your body. And there are so many external symptoms of anxiety, like really sensitive skin, gut issues, insomnia, migraines, food sensitivities that all kind of go undiscussed because usually you're just roped into the category of somebody that isn't capable of handling their stress.
And also, all those things that you mentioned are things that get treated with medication. So, is it your belief that sometimes it's often mistreated or under recognized as the true root of the problem?
Oh gosh, that's a difficult one to answer because everyone has their own path as to what works for them and what's going to give them a quality of life.
Sure.
But I do feel that we live in a society, like I'm a mommy, I have a young daughter, and I have to tread carefully about how I explain to her what is happening to me. Obviously, I try not to have panic attacks in front of her, but that's the way I'm wired. So sometimes it happens. And I do feel that we are continuously starting to kind of live in a society where we're not teaching our children that it's okay to feel all the gnarly emotions. It's okay to be sad. Sometimes when you're really sad and you're crying your heart out, it means you're getting rid of all of those information, the negative information and emotions you don't want to keep inside of you. It doesn't necessarily mean you're depressed.
Sure.
Sometimes you can be really stressed about that test or something coming up. That doesn't mean you have an anxiety disorder. So that's why I feel it's so, so, so important to make the right distinction between it, understanding that there is a middle way and there are two extremes. And having somebody help you, whether it be through therapy, medication, to understand where do these symptoms come from? Is it internal? Is it external? Is it your environment? And how does that then relate to your specific situation? Are you then diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, or do you just need some help to manage your life in a different way so that you can get on a better path? I hope that answers the question.
It does. It does. I want to ask you a little bit different question. You have quite an impressive background from beauty to international law.
Yeah.
Can you take me on that journey from what you wanted to be when you were, let's say, 10 years old to where you are now?
The first conversation I remember about what I wanted to be was when I think it was a Sunday evening. We were sitting on the couch and I told my mom, I don't know what I want to be yet, but I know I'm supposed to make a big difference in the world. And my mom thought, like, this child has to really do something about her ego because like all of us would like to achieve that in our life. But I just knew that whatever I did, I wanted to be in a life of service. So when it came to the decision of understanding what would my career look like, I went into law. And since I started my degree, I knew I wanted to go into legal aid or a humanitarian kind of law.
That makes sense.
All my friends were vying for the big firms and the good salaries and the great corporate career prospects. And I was just really never interested in that. I was completely consumed with whether there would be enough in the government budget to pay for another candidate attorney for that year. So it was always my path. And then I got really interested in the laws of war and what happens to the rights of civilians, especially women during war. I got really into war tactics, voter education, strengthening women's rights. And I got frustrated because I just kept getting turned down from all of these United Nations jobs that I wanted. And it was so difficult and there was so many politics. So I just founded my own consultancy. And it did actually really, really well. And it grew to be a respected global consultancy. I worked in many African countries on many different developmental projects until I was diagnosed with panic disorder after one of my trips. And it completely derailed a career I was honestly very in love with and very passionate about.
Do you believe it was some of the things that you were being exposed to and seeing that may have, I don't want to say created that, but maybe was the trigger for the panic attack that you had?
I think it was really that combined with all the traveling I was doing, I wasn't looking after myself. I wasn't looking after my body. That was the breaking point. But I came from a history of sexual abuse as a child by a family member, sexual assault in my younger 20s. I have a very difficult generational trauma situation in my family. I have a long list of mental health issues that created a lot of bizarre behavior in my house. And I was always a very stressed kid, but there wasn't time to be stressed about this because you're being too sensitive. You're making too much of something that's not it. And kind of this underlying message of what's happening to you is bad, but it's not as bad as what happened to us in previous generations. So you learn to keep quiet, you learn to push it under the rug. And this career was my voice and my opportunity to stand up in a non-confrontational way, kind of a little bit distanced from my own scenario, and say, this is not okay. This should not be happening. This is not what we should be striving towards as a society. And it worked for a while. And then obviously it caught up with me.
Sure. It sounds like those really difficult times in your childhood created something in you that recognized a need for help in other people, and that you were going to help people maybe not experience what you had to go through. I read that your mantra is, there are no secrets to happiness. Life always happens.
Yeah.
How does this mantra help you in moments of anxiety or negativity?
I mean, I don't think there's anything that really helps me jump from a negative to a positive, or a sad situation to feeling better. But saying those words to myself just helps me reframe the moment in understanding that it's okay to be sad. It's okay to be angry. Feel your emotions, be in the now, but don't make it of you, because it doesn't need to be of you. Whatever you do with this emotion and however you choose to go forward and what you do next and how you act next, life is still going to happen. And that is not within my control. And for somebody like me, that is a very, very difficult thing to make peace with, because control is my security and my sense of safety. And I have to go through that whole conversation with myself every single time this happens. But you do learn to be a bit kinder to yourself in those moments, and accepting that I can do my best. If I've done my best and I can feel I've done my best, then I can rest in peace, because life is going to happen with or without me.
So all of that makes sense to me. If you don't mind sharing, in a moment where it's so stressful, it's easy to say, this is what I'll do. I'll do A, B, C, D. Is there something that helps you to stop that barrage of thoughts, hurt, anxious feelings, to stop it and then redirect yourself?
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't have an easy answer to that. I mean, I could say, yeah, you could meditate or you could say something positive. But I mean, if you are where I am, then you know the journey and you know it's not easy. So it's really a collective journey of things that you build up to. So now I've been on this journey for 7-8 years, and I've taught myself to be more in tune with my body, to learn the triggers that will probably drive me towards a panic attack, to understand when my body is speaking to me and telling me this is a trigger, I need to pay attention, I need to redirect. But that's just not always possible. Sometimes, the cliff is so near and so deep and so steep. Sometimes you just need to fall. And those are the hardest moments, because there's really no way out of that. You just need to take the dive. You just need to let life happen. And wherever you land, just know you're going to either land on your feet or you're going to start crawling again until you walk, but you're going to have learned a lot of lessons that can take you further.
I think that's very kind of you to say that because in talking with people and even in my own experience, it feels like when you've fallen off that cliff, you've failed. That
Yeah.
you just need to do better next time. You just need to learn the magic that's going to keep you either away from that cliff or be the guardrail when you get too close to the edge. So I think it's good to hear that sometimes you do go over the edge and there's nothing that will stop you all the time. But that going over and getting through that struggle is not the end of things because I mean, look at you now, look at where you are, and so many other people who have experienced sort of going over the edge and hitting rock bottom or whatever that is, that in time, life happens, like you said. Life happens and things can get better. But it's not easy to see that in the moment, is it?
No, it's very hard. I don't think it's for me, it's not necessarily that it's not easy to see it. It's not easy to accept it because you're always gonna obviously fight for survival. But what I have learned in this journey is one of the things that really held me back was that I dove into this plethora of self help, right? All the meditations, the TED Talks, the books. Everybody's telling me they are or they were where I am now, and they found this miracle cure and they never had a panic attack again. And I launch into this whole thing because I'm a perfectionist and I can ace this test. And then because this is the way I am and always will be, I eventually have a panic attack and I am crushed because now I'm thinking, what did I do wrong? I didn't follow the directions. I wasn't positive enough. I didn't meditate the right way. I didn't listen to my body's triggers. And the last time that I had it that badly, my husband and I sat down and he said to me, you know what? From now on, we're not going to judge this anymore. When this happens, we're just going to say it was a bad day. You went from having bad days every day to having a bad week a month to having 2 bad days a month to having a bad day every 3 months. So it's a bad day. And in the span of life and the beauty that it has to offer, you have hopefully hundreds of more days to make up for it. So wasting your time on what you could have changed, we all have bad days, and it was just a bad day.
I love that. I really love that explanation. And I think that's maybe a way to forgive yourself and to let it go instead of spending so much time on what could have been, what should have been, what I should do different, why I'm a failure. So thank you for those words. I think that's really profound. Did anybody tell you that you shouldn't follow your dream to create your own company?
Well, when I started my human rights consultancy, yes, people were like, what are you doing? You can never make money with starting your own consultancy based on human rights, having a successful career. And it was very satisfying to prove them wrong. But now with Figgy Beauty and with Figgy Soul, yes, people more so than with my consultancy tell me every single day that this is a mistake. Every time a product doesn't sell or a marketing campaign doesn't work or somebody doesn't feel moved by something I say in Figgy Soul, or people that are close to me and understand the narrative that I'm speaking about, but don't want it to be publicly known or those opinions to be raised. So I think I have more kind of pushback now than I've ever had. And it strangely made me even more resilient because I've had to learn to not take that so personally all the time because it would literally break me. So I've had to learn to separate it from me and what is of me and what is not of me. Um, I
Is
hope that
that
makes
what
sense.
helps keep you from feeling hurt when people say things like you shouldn't say this or you shouldn't share this or no, that's not going to connect with anyone? Is that what helps you get through those times?
Yeah, a little, but I think what it helps me with the most is not getting stuck in that moment. Because again, if you're wired like me, you tend to be pretty good at overthinking things. And you're going to go back and you're going to examine everything, and you're going to launch this whole investigation, and you're going to doubt everything you do and you say. And that has helped me do that less. But as far as having hurt feelings on comments, with those, I've just learned to trust myself and to understand that's just how I am. And that makes me uniquely me. I am going to be more sensitive to it, but that also means I'm going to see things that other people may miss because I am so sensitive. So while I'm not going to try and let it consume me, I'm also not going to spend all of my energy trying to chastise myself for feeling this way, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And there's always a part in an episode where I'm talking to someone, they say something and I want to hit rewind and play that again. And I think what was important, especially for people to listen to, because the next question I asked sort of feeds into this. You said, I'm uniquely me, and you've learned to trust yourself. One of the things I like to ask for people who have been successful, who have started their own company, their own nonprofit, whatever it is that they're doing, their own hobby that maybe they were afraid to start. If somebody is listening and thinking, well, but she's brilliant, she's an international lawyer, she started her own consult, I can't do that. They feel stuck. What advice would you give them to help them get started?
I mean, it's so hard to answer that question, but I guess I'll just be super honest and say, if you're feeling stuck, never go with the notion of just do it. Just jump in and just do it. Do it when it feels right to you. And then have a clear idea of what success would look like for you in that. Because I can easily go, oh, well, success for me in Figgy Beauty means so many $1 million of sales in skincare and how many followers and influencers on Instagram. But success to me can also be that I have this real challenge I'm working with in terms of panic disorder, and I make it through every single day in a very high stress job with international taxes and shipping and logistics and very harsh negotiations. And I may not have had that deal for the day. And, we may have made mistakes in certain things that we chose to do or contracts we chose to sign. But for me, that's a success. I didn't go backwards. I didn't have a panic attack. I didn't have to stop in the middle of the meeting and excuse myself. I'm learning and I'm teaching myself what my manual looks like and how I function in this world and how to read my own instructions. So if you're feeling stuck and you want to do that, make sure you understand what it is that makes you unique. How do you read your manual and what is success for you? Because it doesn't have to be money. It doesn't have to be gains. It could be really something as simple as, I didn't have a panic attack in this meeting, and I feel pretty darn good about that.
Earlier, you said something about having tried lots of different things, meditation and listening to a lot of people. It's so interesting that you say that, because right now I've been thinking about that too. I've been thinking about there's so many voices that proclaim to be the experts or the answers. And it really was bothering me. And then I realized that all of these different voices aren't so bad as long as they're not doing anything harmful. Mm-hmm. Because the way you respond to something is maybe very different to the way I do. So something that is meaningful to you and helps you read your own instructions, learn your own manual, create your own manual, may not work for me, but some other voice gave me something that I took away and wrote my own manual. So it's interesting that you talk about that very thing that I've been thinking a lot about. There are lots of different people saying the same thing. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because different voices, I suppose, are reaching different people that may need the message that they're giving. So when you said that, it just really struck a chord for me.
I'm so
So
happy to hear that because that's actually one of the biggest fights that I've probably had since I started Figgy and Figgy Soul is this whole idea of why am I not focusing more on giving people answers and giving them solutions because hope sells. And I will not do that because I don't have the answers. I have the journey. I've walked it and I can show you how I walk it and I can remind you to make it your own. But I don't have the magic pill for you. I don't have the golden ticket. And that's just the truth. I'm sorry. I can help you through it. I can show you what's been hard for me, but I cannot make it better for you.
I love that honesty. And I think you don't have the magic bullet or the magic cure, but your life is an example of how someone who is dealing with the feelings and the disorder that you have, how that you could still be successful. So being that example, I think, is powerful and brave. Sharing your story is very brave because don't most of us at some point or another not want to talk about that. We want to hide that away and be the beautiful and happy and calm person that we're told we should be, right? So I think you're not offering a magic pill, but you're setting an example for how you can live with something that's difficult. And speaking of that, being a founder of anything, of a company, of whatever it is, takes guts and action. So first of all, congratulations on what you've done. But what active steps did you take to get this thing started? Let's talk about Figgy Beauty. What did you have to do? You absolutely had to do these three things or whatever it was to get started on this journey.
First and foremost, I am a believer of being very cautious to the whole thing about being okay with not being the smartest in the room. I'm good with that in the sense that you have to have people that be able to give you advice. You can't know everything, but you should know enough of everything you have your finger in to ask intelligent questions because otherwise people are going to take advantage of you. And that's the first thing I did. I wanted to create skincare. I didn't want to dump something in a bottle. I know the issues I have with my skin. So how am I going to teach myself what the science says about it? How I formulate this thing? How do I work with this ingredient that I know is hard to work with without breaking the formulation? Okay, I need to go back to school. I need to do my certification in cosmetic chemistry. 2.5-year commitment.
Wow.
But I get to ask intelligent questions. So if they tell me this can't work, I can say, no, but I think you can lower the percentage, or I think you can use a different share, or, I don't know everything, but I know enough to understand that maybe there's a question to be asked here, or maybe there's a different avenue we can pursue. So just educating yourself. Yes, surrounding yourself with people that know more than you, but educating yourself in enough of what you need to know to be able to ask those intelligent questions.
I love that. And I was going to ask you about that ingredient. Tell me about what you found and how you found it. I saw what it is, but I don't know how to say it. So how do you say that?
It's rooibos.
Okay.
And it's actually known in the States. I think you can buy it as red bush tea.
Yes.
Or rooibos tea. So I'm South African, and South Africans get rooibos tea basically in their baby bottle. It's in everything we use. It's in much of our baby skincare because it's such a great anti-inflammatory for nappy rashes. And it really is, because of its structure and its decades of scientific evidence, nature's gift to sensitive skin. And I knew I wanted to work with it because I had personal experience of using it on my skin. But I knew that whatever I used in the past needed a little bit of help to address the very specific issues I was having. So how am I going to make this happen? The problem with rooibos is it's very hard to formulate with. It breaks your formulation. So
is it a leaf? Is it a root?
It's consumed as a tea, but if you want to get really scientific, it's a herb. So you're actually drinking a herbal brew. And it only grows naturally in a very small part of the Cederberge in South Africa. It's natural, it's Cosmos certified. If you consume it as a tea, it's been proven that 8 cups a day can prevent cancer, it can help with diabetes, it can help prevent cardiac diseases. And they're launching a study this year, I think the results, to say that it has a significant impact on irritable bowel syndrome because of its anti-inflammatory properties. So as a topical ointment, it does the same. It calms the skin. It is a great antioxidant, so it fights those free radicals. And that's really just what makes it the beauty that it is. There is no other species with this exact structure anywhere else on Earth. And the beauty of it is that if you try and take it out of that environment, France tried to plant it and sell it as rooibos, and South Africa won the case against them to say that you cannot do this. It's a protected designation of origin, because if you take the plant out of that specific soil, that specific climate and temperature, it changes the entire structure of the plant, and it is no longer this beauty that it is.
That makes sense. Well, and if it would make my skin as beautiful as your skin, I need to get something like your skin is absolutely beautiful. So you were saying that before your skin was really taking the effect or sort of taking the punishment of all of the anxiety. So your product helps to calm that. Tell me a little bit about what does it feel like to put it on? Can you feel a difference? How does it change your skin?
Yeah. So what happens is when you are so anxious, your alarm bells go off. So your brain dumps this load of cortisol into your bloodstream. It goes crazy and it shoots to all your different nerve endings. And most of your sensitive nerve endings is just beneath the epidermis. So you start literally feeling like you're itching all over, you're burning, you get red easily. Sensitive skin conditions get worse, like rosacea, eczema, shingles. For me, for example, I would start feeling like I'm itching and I would get nervous and I'd scratch and I'd literally make open wounds. It would feel like my skin is kind of creeping and like even the air is burning my skin. It's so sensitive. So I wanted to take out everything that's scientifically proven to upset sensitive skin. So our products have no synthetic fragrance, no essential oils, because that can upset you as well.
No, we think essential oils like more.
Yeah, because what we forget is it's very potent and they come from fruit and plant extracts. Plant extracts have their own natural fragrance, which upsets sensitive skin. And fruit extracts naturally come with your exfoliating acids, which you should avoid when you have sensitive skin. So that's a key thing to avoid in your routine. It's vegan, it's cruelty-free, it's free from linalool and limonene, which is common irritants they use to mask smell in often fragrance-free products. So it's really being crafted to be a back to basics, very simple routine, because when you have sensitive skin, you've got to go back to the basics, take out all of the extras. And it's formulated to calm your skin, to soothe your skin, but still give you that kind of antioxidant and anti-aging properties and effects that you want, but in a way that your sensitive skin can handle. So very low doses, very much a slow glow approach. If you're into huge results and intense skincare, this is not the line for you.
It's not magic, like overnight magic.
You know, some of our clients would say it is, but I would never say that of any skincare. And again, when you have sensitive skin, especially dry sensitive skin, you want to take it as slow as possible. You want to go back to the basics. It should be about nourishing your skin, rejuvenating your skin, caring, healing. And that's the focus of our Figgy products as well. So when you use Figgy Day Cream, your skin will feel soft, your makeup will go on with a breeze, it will assist the efficacy of your sunscreen, it will work on your dark spots. When you use the evening cream, you'll wake up with a nice plump skin and you'll feel rejuvenated and deeply nourished. When you use the cleansers, your makeup will come off really easily without scrubbing your eyes or pulling on your skin, which you want to avoid when you're sensitive. And that's really the experience, just to kind of bring that luxury feeling back to sensitive skin.
So as you're talking, I'm thinking about like estheticians. Can they get their hands on your products for their customers?
Oh, for certain. Yeah. We're in a bunch of boutique stores and med spas that love to use our products for exactly that reason. And we have a lot of people that have gone through chemotherapy that prefer our products because it really is free from everything and it's so soft. And it seems to be some of the only things that do not upset their skin further. So yeah, we're definitely in all of those, and they love to recommend these products.
So if there is someone listening that doesn't work for one of those places, how can they find out more about your products and where to get them to have them in their store or for their customers?
So if you're looking for having it in your store distribution, you can just mail me at hello@figgybeauty.com. Or if you're just looking into the products and the Figgy Soul offering, you can go to figgybeauty.com and just buy them online. And you can have access to the Figgy Soul subscription also, which is a monthly subscription. And once you become part of the Figgy family, you get a lifetime discount on all your Figgy Beauty products.
Okay, and so for people who are trying to figure out how to spell that, that's FIGGIBEAUTY.com, correct? Okay.
Yes.
Now tell me about, you mentioned access to soul.
Yeah. So Figgy Soul is really we wanted a holistic approach to anxiety. So Figgy Beauty looks after the external symptoms of anxiety, sensitive skin. Figgy Soul looks after the internal. So it is an online platform and e-learning courses that I drafted, that I present, that takes you from the breaking when you are not sure if you have an anxiety disorder to realizing that you have been diagnosed with it. How do you get through those first days? How do you explain this to your loved ones? There are videos for loved ones to understand how to cope with it. It takes you through the whole management phase and helping you to understand how you learn your triggers and how do you choose what works for you. It's all based on my journey and everything I suffered through. And then I'm on the community daily. So I share so many resources on there. I share my personal stories, therapist directories, whatever is needed.
So why is that promoting a sense of belonging among participants? Why is that especially important to you?
I think it goes back to something that happened to me about a year and a half ago. I had a really big relapse and life happened. And my usual support structure wasn't able to be there for me. So I found it so much more difficult to come back from that. And then I realized, even though I did speak to my support structure, there was almost this kind of disconnect from what was happening, in the sense of, oh, but this is normal now. We've been through it. But for me, it feels like it's the first time. So I realized two things there. One, you cannot expect your support system to always be there for you on call 24/7. And two, they also get fatigued. It's normal and it's natural. Plus, the more, it doesn't matter how hard they try and how good their intentions are, they are not going through it. They cannot understand how you feel. You need somebody else that's on this journey, that knows how you feel in that moment and has come this path with you. You don't always want to go back to square one. Okay, go back to the therapist. Okay, talk about everything all over again. Dig up everything from the beginning again. Sometimes you're a little bit further on the journey and you just need your kindred to say, this is a bad day. I don't know what I did wrong. I think I read all my triggers right. But I'm struggling. And somebody needs to be able to understand that and be there for somebody else. And that's why the community is important to me. And that's why I founded it.
That makes complete sense. Along this journey, what's the best thing that's happened for you?
Wow. There are so many good things that has happened for me, but I would say the best thing that's happened to me or for me is understanding that I do not need to constantly chase this idea of balance because it doesn't work for me. It stresses me out because I go into a zone of thinking, oh my gosh, okay, balance means I need to do this and this and this and this and this all in one day. And I need to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife. And I can't have dishes in the sink. And I still have to be at every single meeting. And this has taught me that sometimes I'm going to be a great mom because I'm going to have enough time for that. And I'm going to cherish those moments. Other times I'm going to be awesome at Figgy Beauty because I'm going to have so many opportunities and the meetings are going to come one after the other. And my husband's going to step into the role of the on-call parent for a while. And then it's going to balance itself out again. You know, sometimes I'm going to have the days where I can look after my own nutrition and I'm going to eat all the right snacks and do all the right lunches. And other days I'm going to forget to eat and I'm going to have to go back into a better routine. But that doesn't mean that I failed and that I need to hold myself to that account. I should rather be focusing on life and understanding the ebbs and the flows of it. And it's always going to come back around full circle and you're always going to start the wave again. So it's just about where you are in the tide, I think.
That's really helpful. How do you stay grounded?
Like spiritually grounded?
However.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with my support network and the people that I choose to surround myself with. I and my family have gone through a lot and a great deal to make sure that our house is always an environment of love and peace and joy. We fight sometimes and we have disagreements, but we like being here and we like being together. And it doesn't matter what happens outside of that, together we're stronger. So as long as we can find our common ground there again at the end of the day, that's what keeps me grounded because I didn't have that growing up. So that's a huge thing for me.
Is there anything that you and your husband said or did or do to foster that in your home, that connectedness, that place of peace and love?
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's just many people judge us for this, but it's basically just running your family like a business. You know, it's just like a business. We all have roles that we play. We all have things that we need to contribute and goals we need to set. So everybody has their chores. We have a shared Google Calendar. Nothing gets done or said unless it's on the shared Google Calendar. And then the most important thing is Sundays. Every Sunday afternoon, my husband and I have, without fail, a sit down, and it's a judgment-free space. We don't go there to insult each other or to get mad at each other, but we say what's gone good for us that week and what hasn't, and why we feel it hasn't, and how can we work on that, and how can we pay attention to that, and what is our week going to look like. And it's just so wonderful to start your week like that every day, every Monday, feeling like you've got a team, you've got a partner, and you've been able to say even the things that were hard to say and that have upset you that week or that have maybe hurt your feelings. But you know, it was said in an environment where you're not going to be judged for it. It's not going to be thrown back in your face. And the other way around, like if he tells me something that I've done wrong, you know, I understand the environment in which we say it to each other. It's a safe space. And that to us is really our magic, I think.
You know, that's so smart. It sounds to me, as you're talking about it, I'm like, that sounds like a stand-up meeting at work that people do to know where each other are.
Your scrum meeting.
Right. And I have this saying that I used when I was in the corporate world to my customers. I said, I commit to candor with kindness and respect. And what that means to me is that we can have open conversations, and you know that I'm not coming to you as complaining or beating you over the head or whatever, because I also said that to people I worked with, but coming to work together for a solution that worked for both of us. And it was interesting. And I also asked for a commitment of that in return. So this is what I commit to. And I also ask that you commit in return to this. And it was so interesting that the number of times people would give me a call, customers would call me and say, you know, that whole candor with kindness and respect thing that you said? Yes, I do. I need to have one of those conversations with you. yes, let's do it. I will be there. And I preferred to have those in person when I could.
Yeah.
But what that did was, like you're talking about, it set the atmosphere for not being judged, not attacking the other person, and really coming together to create solutions or to ask, how are we going to get to this solution? Are we going to ask other people? But it probably saved contracts. It helped with solutions that worked for being the customer, being the vendor. So I love that you say that. And it's a great reminder that we can do that within our families. I said to my kids one time, I say this at work all the time. I should say this to you. I commit to candor with kindness and respect. If I have an issue, I want to come to you, but always know that it is in kindness and respectfully that I'm approaching you. So I love that you and your husband have a weekly meeting to do that. I think might have to adopt that.
You're so welcome.
How does all of this shape who you are now?
It just reminds me on a daily basis that I'm always growing. Who I was last month, last year is possibly not who I'm going to be next month, next week. And that's okay, because it shows me that I'm taking things in, I'm doing away with what I don't need, I'm keeping what I do need. I'm always changing. And that's something that used to cause me a lot of anxiety, and now it brings me a lot of peace.
What are 3 things you absolutely had to do to get to where you are now?
Oh gosh, I had to absolutely make peace with my past. I had to face it. I had to look at it. I had to face all of the gnarly feelings. I had to go through all of the hurt and all of the digging it up, because I couldn't move on while I was constantly covering up this shadow part of me. So I absolutely had to do that. Then for me, I needed to figure out what peace meant to me, because in my mind, I was telling myself I am not well, or I am struggling because I'm craving peace, I am seeking peace. But what does that mean to me? And it took me a long time to get to the root of that. And to me, it made security, it made certainty. And that is everything that I'm lucky enough to have in my environment now. So peace has been achieved. So I needed to define what the big things meant to me. And the last thing I needed to do was to laugh more. I tend to take life so seriously so quickly, because I get so involved in that moment.
Sure.
And I forget to just laugh at the silly things. And that's one of my goals this year, actually.
Well, you're doing a good job of it.
Oh, cool.
And you have a beautiful smile. So, and also laughing releases like good hormones, right?
Yeah.
So we should find a way to start our day with something, or at some point in our day with something funny. So what is next for you, Jean?
You know what? For the first time in my life, I can truly say I don't know what's next for me. A lot of things can change for me this year. And for the first time, I'm okay with that, because I know whatever is going to come next is going to be exactly the way it should be, for the reasons it should be. And I am at peace with that. So I don't know, and that's okay.
I love that answer. I love that answer. If somebody wanted to connect with you, what's the best way to connect with you or to find you?
I would say to go to figgybeauty.com and send me a mail on the contact form. The contact form on the website comes directly to my personal email address. I personally answer them all. And that would be the best way to connect.
Okay.
I am also on Instagram and LinkedIn and all of those places, but I prefer human connection. So
makes sense. Jean, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time and sharing your story. It has been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Shortly after recording this episode, I received a beautiful package of Figgy Beauty products from Jeannie. I've been using them and I can't decide which is my favorite, although I did narrow it down to just 4. The Miracle Mist feels amazing on my face after I finish a workout in the pool. The Nurture the Goddess Antioxidant Day Cream feels like smoothing liquid silk into my skin. But I also love the evening combination of the Slow Glow Gentle Retinol Renewal Serum, followed by the Nourish the Goddess Evening Rescue Cream. I feel absolutely spoiled after using these products. To see what I'm talking about, visit figgybeauty.com.